Welcome to the Arete Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Triggs, and today I'm joined once again by business strategist and author Tim Dwyer. Tim and I have known each other for close to 17 years, and every conversation we have challenges me to think differently about business, leadership, and what creates sustainable growth. In this episode, we discuss the ideas behind Tim's new book, his framework for navigating strategy and culture, and why alignment must come before AI implementation. We also explore how AI is reshaping businesses, careers, and the opportunities available to the next generation. So sit back and enjoy this conversation with Tim Dwyer. Hello, Mr. Tim Dwyer. It's been some time.
Yes, Richard, how are you?
I'm really good. And you?
Yeah, excellent, mate. Really good, really good.
I don't know if you are our most recorded podcast guest, but if you're not, you probably are pretty close. I think it's probably you.
We always have fun.
This is the first one we've done in a little while, and I think since we last did the podcast, you're now a successful published author.
I am, yeah. 4 years in the making, Richard. You know what it's like, and you were at the beginning of that journey with me. And setting out on that journey was an interesting ride. I didn't realise it was going to take quite so long, but I'm very, very pleased with the outcome.
Yeah, it's a weighty tome.
It is. Well, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a reference guide, because when people look at it, they go, "Oh my God, it's going to take me a month to read it," because it's got every principle and philosophy of business in it. So it's pretty comprehensive. So it's meant to be a reference guide. So a lot of people are just opening it at random, or if they've got a question around a specific aspect of business, they can open up at that chapter and away they go.
So tell us the book and how it ties into your day job.
Well, the book itself it's a combination of all of the work I've done over the last 25 years, working with literally hundreds and thousands, or hundreds and then into the thousands when we talk about workshops. Of businesses of all different sizes and shapes and industries. And what I've done is I've been able to distill it all down into what's the commonality. And it's when people read it, they go, "Oh, Tim, it's a little bit woo-woo." I said, well, woo-woo was back in the 2000s. Woo-woo is now mainstream because what it talks about is there's two contexts in business, and that is if you make a decision based in being in service and in an abundant mindset, that decision will create a positive outcome in the future. However, if you make a decision based on fear or scarcity, that decision will actually create a negative outcome in the future. So the book's designed to show you all elements and aspects of business, and then how to make it from an abundant in-service methodology, so that businesses can grow so much quicker and have a hell of a lot more fun.
And there's quite a strong nautical theme.
Yeah, well, I decided to, because my brand is Ptolemy, which came out of Claudius Ptolemy in 150 AD, who created longitude and latitude. And so I named the book after that, because the book has longitude and latitude, but it's how do you create value in relationship. It's not longitude and latitude, it's value in relationship. And then when I was looking to see how I could explain it, the actual starting point for a business, I decided to use the nautical theme, because everyone can understand, everyone can connect with it. And there's always two forces when you go sailing. There's the wind, which is above the surface, and then there's the current that sits below the surface. And if you're going with the wind and against the current, it's a very bumpy ride. And it's exactly the same for business. If you're going with the market forces, but your culture's not working for you, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And so when I started exploring the nautical theme with it, I actually accidentally came across how to actually find your starting position, and how to actually navigate so much easier. And people love the nautical theme because they can really connect with it.
Right, so before we sort of delve into that in more detail, talk to us about the kind of the work that you're doing with your clients now?
Well, there's three different buckets really. So the middle bucket is the businesses that are established, and having a lot of fun with them. And their businesses, they've got more than 15 people, anywhere up to about 250. That's what I'm working with in the middle section. And we're doing a lot of getting them all aligned, getting the businesses aligned, and then also getting their cultural aligned, and getting them well prepared for AI. Those businesses are in the prime position for AI integration, but we're getting the projects right so that therefore their AI projects will be successful. 90% of AI projects are failing at the moment because they haven't got the alignment happening inside the business. So we're having a lot of fun doing that. Then there's the businesses that want to exit. So there's a lot of baby boomers, and there's a lot of businesses that have reached a point where they need to actually exit it out into a bigger structure so that they can, their people can succeed on into a new career path. And so we're having a lot of fun with business exits. And then there's the smaller businesses over here, the smaller entrepreneurs that are starting out for the first time. And so we're helping them with their entrepreneurial skills and how to leverage AI as well, but also how to get clear on what strategies theirs to own because it's got their capability, and what's just an idea, which is very, very different. There's lots of ideas in the world, but there's certain businesses that are ours to own or theirs to own, and others that are just really good ideas that someone else will have fun with.
Okay. Yeah, because you and I have known each other now for, I guess, about 17 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's been a very interesting sort of evolution and reiteration of, your focus over that period. So what do you think's kind of got you to this point now?
Well, yeah, you've seen me in all my different versions, I guess, Richard. So when I started this in the 2000s, I started in coaching and grew that very successfully. And then I exited that, and then the coaching was more on the emotional side of business as well as the structural side. I exited that and then worked more on structure for 5 years to really dive deep into the different growth cycles from a structural perspective. Then, as you know, I went into brand. I went back to my roots, which was in brand, so I did that for 5 years. And so therefore I was able to have a look at business from 3 different layers. And the last 5 years is been transformational. Because I've gone into more the inspiration of business or the in spirit of business, and the community business models and where the world is going with respect to that. So what I've been able to map is all the mathematics and the structural from a logical point of view. I've been able to map everything from an emotional point of view and what emotional triggers and what emotions serve a business and what don't. And then the third thing is the inspiration behind it, which is what's going on inside of us that we're here to create an impact on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So, taking that then and then coming back to the themes of the book and so on, one of the words that you used was navigation. So explain what you mean by navigation in this context.
Okay, so when we started with Google Maps or GPS mapping system in the late 2000s, what I said to Jackie when we were going from A to B was I said to her, do you notice that now that we're using Google Maps or Waze or one of the other ones, do you notice that we don't have any tension in the car that we used to have before that? Because without a map, you've got to either wind down your window and ask someone for directions, or you might have a paper map that you don't know whether or not it's orientated upside down or where your starting position, and so therefore it's a stressful scenario. And I said to Jack at the time, I said, well, what if we created that for business? Because in business, there's lots of ideas. There's actually 72 different components in business. And everyone's got a perspective of what should be done. If you go back to the car analogy for a minute, you're sitting in the car with your wife and she's going, oh, we should go this way. And I'm going, well, I think we should go that way. And as a result, that creates the tension. Now, if you've got a map and you know your starting position and everyone is orientated to the same starting position and you know your destination and you also have it mapped out on how to get there, then all of the shoulding goes away and what you create is alignment. So it was about 5-6 years ago now that I was fascinated with this whole mapping system, and I've studied mapping systems, and I'm a big fan of the book called Longitude, and I was sitting down quietly and I was just doodling, and I actually then started creating it, and then went, oh my God, this is it. And you've got to have two axes, which is longitude and latitude, but then there's also, in business, there's energy. So you have to map the energy inside the business as well. And so when I combined that business is all about maximizing the value exchange, right, in relationship with the market, whilst having the most amount of fun, I was able to then organize all of the different components into a logical, but also an energetic, as well as an inspirational point of view. And then when I did the boating analogy, I then was able to then really solidify it down into, okay, here's where you're starting, here's where you want to go, and here's the 4 steps to get there.
Mm-hmm. And then the other word you used was alignment. So explain alignment and then explain the synergistic power of both navigation and alignment.
Yeah, so alignment is the critical element to everything. Because in business, we're always in relationship with someone. So we're human beings, right? Obviously. And when we have misalignment or miscommunication, then what ensues is drama. So we create drama that we have to solve. But once we're in the drama triangle, I think you know Cartman's drama triangle of victim, persecutor, rescuer. Once we enter into drama, if we don't observe it and snap out of it, then that's what actually drives the business, which is actually a negative impact. Now, when you've got alignment and everyone knows the direction their business is going, and everyone knows the value that they bring to that direction, then what happens is the drama disappears. And any day or hour or minute that was spent in drama is no longer in drama, it's now in value creation. Now, when that happens, businesses fly. They go so quick, and they have so much fun. But the most important thing around alignment is a common perspective of where the business is today, and a common perspective of where the business is going tomorrow, and a common perspective of the steps to get there. Now, the other thing around this is everyone's always right. So we've all got our perspectives. So every perspective is correct, but it's how do you bring those perspectives together and then have full agreement and commitment to a strategy and a direction. And when that happens, then implementation happens super, super quick.
Mm. Yeah, so recently you sent me through a little funky online survey to do, and which I really enjoyed doing. And one of the things that I did then was I had the members of my team do it as well. And although I haven't had a chance yet to sort of talk through the results of that with you, it became pretty evident that everybody was pretty well aligned from the cultural side of things. And felt that the culture of my business was very strong, and yet it was the strategic side of things that some members of my team felt were perhaps more advanced than others. And I thought that was really fascinating. So explain, because then you use it in that context of the wind and the tide, or so you've tied it back again into that nautical sort of metaphor. So talk about that.
So yours is a great example, right? So in business, you've got the as I said before, you've got the wind, which is the market forces. So that's how well you're positioned for the next phase or the next era of growth. And then underneath it is the undercurrent, which is the culture, which is the people alignment to behaviours, communication, how they show up every day. Now, there's some businesses that will have a strong culture, but they're not quite sure of the direction. Now, the reason why they're not quite sure of the direction is quite often entrepreneurial businesses especially, they operate from gut feel, which is the internal driver, right? And gut feel sometimes is not always easy to explain. So we need to bring the gut feel of where the business is going to consciousness and to be able to communicate it so people go, oh, that makes complete sense. As opposed to just trusting one or two or three people to sort of say, oh, we'll just follow them blindly. Yes, if the culture's really good, people will tend to follow very strong leaders. But when you can articulate the vision, you can articulate the strategy super clearly, what happens is everyone falls completely in alignment with it. The culture then aligns, and then the business takes off. Oh, yeah. I'll give you an example. I was working with one of the top app companies, which is an Australian company, but they're the global #1 app on Apple Store. And when I went into their organisation, I said, "Oh my God, this business is amazing." And they've got a full-time chef. They've got barista on call or at full-time barista. Their offices were amazing. Like everything was set up. And then when I asked 5 questions of the owner, I said, "Can you tell me about how grateful everyone is?" And he goes, "They all take it for granted." I said, "Oh, okay." I then asked him, I said, "Can you tell me how well people, what percentage of time do they talk about people, or do they talk about problems about people?" And he goes, "About 90%. I said, "Oh dear." Then I asked him, I said, "Can you tell me about how good people cross-integrate into teams and projects?" And he goes, "Everyone's siloed." And I said, "And how does everyone acknowledge? Is there right or wrong conversation, or is there open acknowledgement of a team effort?" And he goes, "It's right, wrong." And I said, "How do the people feel about change?" And he goes, "They don't like it." And here's one of the #1 businesses in the world that's got a cultural undertow happening. So I then said to the owner, I said, "So how do you make decisions?" And he goes, "By instinct, gut feel. That's how I got here." And I said, "Well, there's a couple of changes we need to make." And he goes, "Well, Tim, that's why you're here." So what we did is we got him to articulate his vision, a brand-led vision of what the brand stood for. We then wrapped the business model so everyone has a common language around the business model and then the structures. But most importantly, we then changed the culture inside the business, one of gratitude, one of talking about ideas and solutions, one about teamwork and acknowledgement, and change is a natural part. And it took us a very short period of time to get full alignment. Now that business already was on trend when it comes to their market forces. We had to fix the internal energy of the business. And once we did that, the business is well and truly, everyone's having a good time and they're loving it. So the one thing around it though is I needed to show them all where the disconnect was, where the misalignment was, and once they all agreed on the misalignment, they could all agree to align. So it's a collective consciousness, so to speak.
Okay, great. So that's an excellent example. How long did that process take? And how big was the team, and what did that involve?
That one there, they're about 80 people, 80, 90 people. They were 120. We did actually have to restructure them somewhat because they did invite a negative energy into the business that recruited a whole lot of other negative energy. So we had to do a little bit of a restructuring. So they're about 80 people now. The restructuring took a little bit, so that took about 6 months to make sure that was done respectfully. But then it takes about 9 to 12 months to do it for a business that size to get everyone completely aligned. it takes about 3 months to do the strategy, but with AI these days, we can do it a lot quicker. What used to take me 6 days of work now takes me 2 days, which is awesome because we can get things done quicker. But it's still the people need to absorb it. They need to embody it. So it just takes a little bit of a time for things to sink in and for people to associate with it. And so that's where the implementation takes 9 to 12 months, sometimes 18 months, depending on the size of the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I imagine for a lot of people listening to this podcast, they go, oh, that's all very well and good if I have a team of 80 people and I've got, a long period to, but if I'm in a situation where, I'm either in crisis or alternatively, I've done this survey and, my team, and it's clearly showing something that needs, either strong remedial action or there's a real opportunity here. How do they fast track this process?
Well, it's a really good question, because when a business, you never waste a good crisis. So the business that I was talking about, the app business, they weren't in crisis because they had the market forces really going for them, and there was plenty of revenue coming in, so they could afford to take the time and really cement it in, so it was going to be there forever. When a business is in crisis, they need to make quick decisions, and that can take a matter of just a couple of months to get it turned around really quickly, to get it back into what I call steady reach. And that's where the wind and the market forces are working partially for you, and the current's working okay but not perfect. That can take 2 to 3 months tops. But once you're in steady reach, then there's time to actually really make it intentional and embed it. And so you don't actually want to rush it because you're having a good time anyway. And you do it properly, and then it's embedded in the business forever.
Yeah, and I think not having the report in front of me, I think that the overwhelming sort of result from the surveys that we did in my business was that Arete is currently in steady reach, which is, as you say, it's a good place to be. Certainly, if we'd done that same survey 12 months ago, I don't think that would have been the case at all.
No, I know where you would have been. Knowing you. But the good thing is steady reach is right in the center. So there's 9 scenarios, and steady reach is right in the center. So your pathway is to go up and get the direction really solidified, and then really embed a new culture into the business, which is an extra layer of culture. So I'll give you an example of that. Working with a large town planning and survey and environmental company, and they were in steady reach as well, and we moved them up and got the direction really super clear around their next growth for the next 5-10 years plus. That's the sort of visioning that we do. We build a business, the brand led well and truly into the future, and then we implemented a whole lot of cultural activities, including a 9-day fortnight, training and development on 90-day cycles. There's health and wealth programs. We're running a wealth program this October to teach everyone how to create their own personal wealth. So you can take really good culture, and then you can add in layers to the culture that really help people inside the business be healthier and wealthier. And as a result, they want to stay and they want to contribute more. And so they're now completely in full sail, and they're just absolutely flying. So all of those activities just take a little bit of time, but when you've got the map, you know how to do it, and everyone commits to it, and it doesn't feel like effort at all.
Yeah, and leading into the place around AI. I mean, one of the things, so the market force side of the equation, in order to be, have your sales full, it's really about having a strong vision or an awareness about where the market is traveling. And yet, obviously, at the moment, there's so much confusion and lack of clarity because people are so not necessarily fearful, but AI is consuming so much of people's attention. What is going to happen to my industry, let alone my business? In fact, what's going to happen, to humanity as a, in general with AI taking, more jobs and so on. So you've spoken about AI. I mean, what are the things that people aren't talking about that you think they should?
So if we go back to the quiz for a minute, I encourage everyone to, because the quizzes, you can take the free quiz. There's a real critical element to it. So businesses that are in 4 of the 9 scenarios, right? So they're in full sail, smooth passage, hidden tailwind, or steady reach. People, when they take the quiz, will see what those 4 quadrants are. They're ready for AI. They can go implement AI today, and they will get the full impact of AI. The businesses that have got a cultural undertow, or they're in the cross currents, or they're in a storm, or they're in slow drift, those businesses, if they try and implement AI now without fixing the business fundamentals, they're going to amplify what already exists. So business and AI doesn't run the business for you. It amplifies where you want it to go. You still need to guide AI. It's not going to guide us. We have to guide it. And if you've got a cultural issue, or your market direction, and you're not on trend, you're focusing just on profit, you're not thinking about being in service and purpose, those businesses are going to really struggle in the AI world. I'll give you an example. I was speaking to one of my connections over in the US, and he's an AI agency, a very successful AI agency. He's been doing it for many years now. And I said, "What's your biggest problem?" And he goes, "Well, Tim, I've got a mixed bag here. So sometimes I go into an organisation and we implement the AI strategy, and we build them their agents, and we make sure their data's all clear and all that sort of stuff. And those businesses are insanely well. And then on the other side, I went in to try and educate people and show them what they could do with AI, and 50% of the leadership team left." And I said to him, "It's an alignment issue." The thing is, if you don't have the leadership aligned first in the direction of the business, and the cultural aligned to the change that's on its way, then what you're going to get is, number one, the market's going to turn its back on you, and then your culture's going to turn its back on you. And so those businesses that are in what I call a bit of a negative cycle are going to really struggle if they don't get their direction and their culture right first. Now, when we talk about the new, like, AI is not going to replace human beings. AI, we still need direction, we still need relationships, we still need culture, we still need community. In actual fact, we need to lean more into those new roles. Now, there's a number of new roles that will open up because of AI, and that's where people will move into. Now, if I give a bit of an example, this one's goes back to the 1990s, Richard. And when I was part of Telstra, which is most people in Australia will know who Telstra is. But I was part of a project that had to downsize the organisation from 98,000 people to 48,000 people in 5 years. It was the biggest corporate transformation in Australian history at the time. The then CEO, Frank Blunt, and Charlie Zoy, his 2IC, put in a program that, number one, taught people how to relate better, how to build stronger culture, how to build new skill sets so that they can improve their career. And as a result of that, there was no negativity when 10,000 people left every year. Right? So everyone was pretty much positive whether they stayed or whether they went, because they had confidence that if they were left, they could go into their new career, or they could start a new business, which is actually what I did right at the end of the process. Or they could go into another telco, or they could go into another career, and they were fine. Now, what we're seeing with AI coming in is we're going to see that on scale. So we're going to see the largest shift in business in human history because it's not going to be one organisation or 5 organisations that are doing it. It's going to be every organisation is going to be going through it at the same time. And it's how well those businesses work on preparing their business and their people to either be staying in a new role or to be transitioned out into a new career. But there's always opportunity. There's always opportunity to create new things and leverage AI. It's just about embracing it, but making it human-led, not AI-led.
Oh, look, I thoroughly am enjoying utilising AI in my business, and I'm a strong advocate, and yet, to play devil's advocate to that, I mean, if you look at the agricultural revolution, where people moved from the farms into the cities because that's where the jobs were in the factories, and then the industrial revolution, where they moved from the factories into, largely the service industry, and now we have a situation where AI is creating this capacity for organisations to do a lot more with a lot less. And what I'm seeing is that, in my space, is that the concern is, if young people are not being blooded in careers, they're not getting their SCAR resume as the junior accounting graduate, or the junior marketing graduate, or etc., the junior lawyer, then there is going to be this dearth of people who are available to take senior leadership roles in the future. And in the meantime, what are all of those people who are either not getting those opportunities going to be doing, or people who have been displaced because of AI, what are they going to be doing? So, I'm studying a Bachelor of Music, and it's me as a 58-year-old in a room with, 40 18-year-olds, which is hilarious. And they hate AI.
Yeah.
And my daughter, who's 14, is adamantly against AI.
Yep.
So, there is a tremendous amount of fear out there.
There is.
And yeah, and so you mentioned, okay, so what are these new roles that are going to, become available as a result of AI?
Yeah, so just to touch on the AI, there's 3 buckets that sit in AI, right? So if we put them in age groups, so above 50, that's split into 2 categories. 50% of the above 50s are embracing AI and going, bring it on, and 50% are just going, I can't wait to retire. This is all too hard. So that's one bucket. The 30 to 50-year-olds are all over it. They love it. And the reason they see it is because, as you say, they've been blooded and they understand the principles of what it is that they're doing. And so therefore they can interrogate AI and they can ask AI to do it correctly. So those ones are really having a good time. But the ones that are coming through, the 20 to 30-year-olds, as you say, they're not AI fans because they're going, well, who's going to teach me what I need to know so I can be successful?
Exactly.
And what we now need to do is we need to now change that and have mentorship going through to those people, so that if they do choose a career in legals or accounting or even in agriculture, that they get taught the base principles behind the craft. Now, if they get taught the base principles, then there's opportunity for them to either start their own business or join an existing business, because what it is like people are seeing AI replacing what already exists. Now, if it replaces what already exists, then everyone's going to be out of a job. But what AI gives us the opportunity to do is to solve more of the problems that we've created from the past. In the last 100 years, we've created so many problems in health, we've created problems in wealth, we've created so many problems in society that AI can now help us solve those problems. Now, the thing around that is we want to be motivated to go and solve a problem. Now, if we get motivated to solve a problem, then we can use AI to support it. So I sat down with my daughter. We went to Melbourne the other couple of weekends ago, and I said, what are you passionate about? And we talked through what she was passionate about, and then I showed her how to use AI to create a new business, right? And we created it in a couple of hours, and it was a full business plan, brand-led. It came with a brand, came with the business model and the mathematics. We were able to ask it all the right questions, so it only took us a couple of hours. And then I said to her, right, Phoebe, we've created this now. Now I want you to do is read it and go socialise it and see if this is yours to own, whether this is something that you want to create. And so she's sitting on that at the moment going, I'm not sure whether this is mine or whether this is a problem for someone else to solve. And I said, well, that's your choice. And the thing is, what she's looking for is side hustles. She knows what her career wants to be. She wants to get into social services and utilise music to help people heal trauma and all that sort of stuff, all that good stuff, I should say. But she wants to make money as well, and so she's looking for a side hustle for creating a business that will solve a bigger problem that she's got, which will solve all her friends' problems. And so therefore AI will help her create the side hustle. But at the same time, she needs to be guided on how to actually do that. And so we have to, for the people that are 30 to 40 to 50, need to be providing as many opportunities to those people to bring them in to help and to show them how to innovate within their own business. And we need really solid mentors to go down into the next generation to show them the principles so that they can then go create, if they don't get a job, they can go create their own career. So there's opportunities, but it's going to take a few years for this to run through. But we've got to give the younger or the next generation the confidence to leverage it so they don't miss it and they don't become victims of it.
Mm. Oh, look, I certainly agree with a lot of that. I suppose, again, to play devil's advocate, if they're not getting the entry-level roles in order to get access to the mentoring, then there needs to be an alternative way to deliver that. And if you look at your daughter's situation, I mean, she is your daughter, right? So her father is, a business expert and developing AI, thought leader and so on. I mean, very few people would have that opportunity with their parents. So the way I look at it is that, and again, another point that you made, we've created all these problems in the last 100 years. Well, whilst that might be true, it would still be fair to say this is the healthiest and wealthiest and, best opportunity. People, if you had a choice between being born 200 years ago or being born today, in almost every possible measure, things are much better today, right?
Totally.
Yeah, and so, the thing is, what I foresee is that there is going to be this almost like a desert, where how long that goes for, whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the oasis on the other side is very, very attractive, but in the meantime, it is corralling and getting people through this period. And then one of the other things I think about is, we are in a situation where population is in decline. Even in those sort of nations where there was tremendous growth, now is that, so a lot of those environmental and other issues, and also a lot of the issues in terms of, job opportunities, etc. Well, if there's far less people, then that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
the thing is, it's the definition of growth.
You just got to strap in and, hang on.
And we need to change the definition of growth.
In what way?
So growth is, in a lot of people will look at, it's just numbers of people, for instance. Right, so I grow my business and I grow the numbers of people in my business, right? Which is one metric, and we still need that metric. But where we're looking at right now, it's the revenue per person number that will increase. Now, with AI, we're going to be able to increase it. At the moment, it's still averaging at about 120K revenue per person around the world, right? Which is still relatively low. It's not creating real wealth for a lot of people. Some businesses, most of the businesses I work with are over the 200, some of them over the 300, and I've got quite a number that are over the 500,000 revenue per person number. Now, when you get the revenue per person number up, you're able to reinvest a lot of that money back into the business, but back into people's relationship skills, their personal growth skills, their coaching skills, their mentor skills, their innovation skills. There's all these different skills that still are required to then utilize AI effectively. Now, when businesses reinvest in that over the next 6 years and they build strong cultures and community business models, those businesses are going to solve a heap of problems. And yes, we've created problems over the last 120 years, and yes, I agree with you, we're much better off than we were 100 years ago. And this transition is going to be absolutely enormous. It will be chaotic. This will be a crisis of sorts. But as I said before, never waste a good crisis. This is the time for transformation. And this is the time to really lean into relationships and lean into creating more value with less people, but we're creating more value. And so therefore, there's enough opportunity for everyone if they're willing to step into it.
Well, I suppose time will tell, won't it? It's and coming back to your, we were talking about strategy and market-led forces and so on. With so much market disruption, somebody asked me recently, "Oh, Richard, do you plan your business out, 1 year in advance, 5 years in advance?" And I think to myself, "Gosh, I struggle to even think about my business 3 months in advance."
Yeah.
Because even our most basic utilization of AI, and I'm actually working with a Claude coach now, Adam Franklin, who's also been on the podcast, and I've been working with him for about 6 weeks, and he just even giving me the confidence. For example, it might take me normally 2 hours to put a proposal document together.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday Claude did it for me in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The just simple things like that are saving so much time.
Yeah. So where do you go invest that time?
Where do I go? To the pub.
Yeah. I was hoping. So the thing is, it's going to create space and time. So I believe we'll all be going to the 4-day week in the not too distant future. Because we're going to have more time. Now, what do we do with that time is we look after ourselves better. We look after our health. We look after our relationships at home. We look after our relationships with our community. And then it's going to also give us more time to actually build better relationships inside our business and outside the business.
Yeah, so, you say that, Tim, but does that mean that people, at the same time, cost of living's going up and housing prices are going up and petrol prices are going up and so on and so forth? So, devaluing people's jobs and then also getting them to work a 4-day week. It's all very well to say, I've got all this time now, I'm going to do all these altruistic and personal things. But if you can't afford to do it, then, that creates a whole other challenge, doesn't it?
It does. So it's revaluing people. It's not devaluing, it's revaluing. When we put in that 9-day fortnight for that company I was talking about before, when that happened, they're a professional services business, and one of the partners, he told his father, who he was second generation, he told his father what we were doing, and his father said, "You're nuts. You're a professional services business. You bill by the hour. You need to get that happening by." But we changed their pricing and packaging, and we changed a few things prior to implementing it. By giving everyone a 9-day fortnight, their productivity's gone up, right? And their profit's gone up, and everyone's happier. So if you do it right, it's not about giving just people time off. It's about revaluing them and repurposing and pointing them in the right direction, which is all about, okay, let's go build better relationships. Let's go build deeper relationships. Let's go build a community. There's all these businesses that are sitting there that are going to be able to bring in a whole lot of other businesses in a community business model. I'm super excited about it, but I'm also very wary, and your point around there's going to be a whole lot of businesses that struggle. And the reason they're going to struggle is because they're sitting in one of those 5 scenarios that's got negative impact happening against their business. It's the one in the 4 top right-hand 4 being full sail or steady reach or smooth passage. All of those ones are going to really have a good time because they're ready for the change. It's the ones that over here that aren't prepared for the change that are going to really struggle, and they're going to have a crisis.
Okay, so first things first, it's becoming really clear on current reality state. And
Correct.
Obviously one of the tools that people can use to get some clarity is to do your online assessment. So how do people access that?
Really simply, go to quiz.ptolemy.com. So it's quiz, everyone knows how to spell that. Ptolemy is spelt Tolemy, and then it's .com. It takes about 3 minutes if you know how to answer them really quickly, or 5 minutes max. Then the report gives you where your current reality is. It gives you what your likely experience is, so you'll be able to connect into it. So actually, that's what I'm experiencing. It gives you, okay, here's the strategic points to shift you from where you are to where you need to go. Then when they download the full report, it will give them a step-by-step guidance. And it's a good starting point.
Excellent. Well, as somebody who's done it and had my team do it, I certainly found it very insightful, and I look forward to discussing with you in more detail some of the feedback and opportunities to leverage that in my business. But Tim, really appreciate your time today, and great to catch up. I don't know what number podcast this is with you, but there'll be plenty more to come.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I look forward to doing another one in, say, 12 months' time, looking back at what we said here and sort of say, okay, remember when we... we'll see how accurate we were.
Indeed. All right, thanks, Tim. Have a great day.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Yeah.